Welcome to the LDN radio show, brought to you by the LDN Research Trust. I'm your host, Linda Elseygood. I have an exciting lineup of guest speakers who are LDN experts in their field. We will be discussing low-dose Naltrexone and its many uses in autoimmune diseases, cancers, etc. Thank you for joining us.
I'm really excited about a new opportunity, a new project that I'm working on with my esteemed colleague, Dr. Lenny Weinstock. The two of us are working on an MCAS documentary. This is something that we've been really excited about, have been thinking about for a number of years, but we finally have an amazing partner at the LDN Research Trust. And we're going to work together to put this documentary on. We plan to have this documentary really is a way of reaching the public and the medical professionals. We really feel it's important to educate patients and their caregivers, but I think also important to educate the medical profession. We want to get the word out. And so this is going to be the type of project that is we're going to get into medical schools, we're going to get into training programs, and we're going to provide links to PowerPoint presentations and other things. This documentary, I think, can have a far-reaching effect on many people. MCAS really, probably affects 17% or more of the population. So this is a large number, lots of people potentially affected. And so this is a project that I think can be is much needed. We are in the fundraising stages. It's an important process, unfortunately, but whatever people could give, even a small amount, would be so appreciated. We just can't do this without some funds to pay for the process of filming and pay for the people who are helping us work on this. The website that you could find out more information on is MCASfund.com. That's MCASfund.com. And all the information there about donating can be found there. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce our guest, Dr. Tania Dempsey. Thank you for joining us today, Tania.
Thank you for having me.
So could you tell us, what is your background?
Yes. So I've had an interesting journey in medicine, and my background really is internal medicine, but I've sort of made my way into a realm so much more than that. What I'll say is that I've known that I wanted to be a doctor since I was probably 5 years old. I always knew I wanted to help people. It sounds so cliche, but that's really what I used to say. I just want to help people. And, when I went into medicine, it was a really straight path. I saw the vision. I was gonna, sit with patients, talk to them, help them figure out their problems. I always sort of knew that was the way you had to do things. And it's interesting, when I was in training, I really, sort of saw, a way of doing medicine that was probably not totally in line with what I really believe medicine should be. And it took me a number of years to veer off and do the type of medicine that I think patients deserve. But, I went through sort of the standard path. I went to undergraduate at Cornell University. I went to Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, which is really considered one of the top medical school in the country. And I had a really amazing education. But all along, while I was being educated in allopathic medicine, I was exploring a side of me that just was important to me. I was sort of separating the two things. Here's medicine, here's how you treat patients, and this is me, this is my body. I was very, very interested I was actually bodybuilding, believe it or not. So I was I was working out. I was thinking about the food and the impact food was having on me and my muscles. I was thinking about nutrition in general, lifestyle, lots of layers to this. And I was doing all that and trying to be the best that I could be while going to school and not learning about any of that. I think like our nutrition lecture was maybe, 15 minutes long or something. Maybe it's a half an hour, but nonetheless, it was really, I think about it as really like two sides of me. The side that was, learning the science, the way, again, allopathic medicine is practiced, and then the part of me that understood that there's stuff that happens, there's so much more that we don't understand, and there's a way of living and there's a way of understanding that you can't just get through the science. And so I was trying to sort of really kind of like put those two parts together. And when I left medical school and I went to residency, which I did in New York City at NYU, New York University, I again had a great training. It was very hands-on. I really understood how to treat acute presentations of illness. And what occurred to me over time, though, was that a lot of what I was seeing were patients that were not well managed. Generally, they had chronic diseases that really overtook their life. And then, of course, when they wound up with an acute exacerbation of something that they were dealing with, they would wind up in the hospital, and we would take care of them. And then they would go back and live their life, and no one really would teach them about other things that they needed to do to live a better life. But also no one was really digging deeper to see if there was a real underlying cause, real problem that was driving any of their symptoms. And that always sort of was in the back of my mind. And then when I left training and I went into a traditional medical practice where I was doing internal medicine, I would see patients, and I really love the relationship between me and my patients. I really love to get to know them. I really feel that there's a therapeutic part of it that patients can open up. I can dig deeper and I can understand all the aspects of their life, which helps me treat them better. And so what would happen is, in a traditional model here in the States, you really have to see patients, very quickly. You don't have a lot of time. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes at most. And I couldn't manage in that time period to really get to know the patients. And so I always ran late, and I always was sort of reprimanded for spending too much time with my patients. And the more time I spent, though, the more I understood there were these chronic issues that patients were dealing with that didn't make sense to anybody else. But I knew they made sense. And I really wanted to understand all that more. And so I dig deeper. I researched, I scoured the literature whenever I could. I went to conferences, and I started to really understand that and with the help of some colleagues, I started to understand that I really was practicing a type of medicine that was maybe a little beyond the traditional model. And so we call it integrative medicine. I think it's so much more than that. But I remember having a conversation with a colleague that I had met at a conference, and he said, tell me a little bit about your practice. And I explained things, and he said, oh, you do integrative medicine. And I said, what's that? I just thought that's the way you practice medicine. I always thought that you spend time with patients, you uncover the deep layers of things that are going on, you figure out how different symptoms in different parts of the body are related to each other. Like that just seemed natural, because that's always the way I thought, but not taught in training. And so once he said that, he planted that seed, I said, all right, let me start exploring this more. And I finally left that practice. I started my own practice, really with the intention of doing the work that I wanted to do without having, Big Brother sort of looking over me and telling me how much time I could spend with patients. I could spend an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, however long I needed to figure it out. And it's funny, when I started my practice, I really thought that no one was going to come and see me. I really thought, I started, a small little office, and I said, how many patients are really going to come? I don't think this is really, I'm not sure, and they came quickly, and it grew quickly. And the more patients that came, and the more I had the opportunity to really explore all the pieces of what they were dealing with, the more you start to uncover things that you don't understand, right? The more you know, the less you know, kind of thing. So really it was a couple of patients that really brought some things to the surface or to my attention that started to push me in a direction of complex multi-system chronic diseases. Actually, the first thing was really a lecture that I went to by a colleague, Dr. Richard Horowitz, who's a leading Lyme and tick-borne infection specialist. And I was speaking at the same conference as he was. I spoke about another topic, and he spoke about his topic. And I spoke to him afterwards. He asked me about my practice. And he said, "Oh, so you must see a lot of Lyme disease in the area where you practice medicine." And I said, "Maybe, it's not that much." And he said, "Well, yes, it is. You just don't know." And that started me really starting to look at things that maybe I was missing in my patients. That was the first step. And the second step was a patient that really was so complex that I could not reconcile the things that she was dealing with. And what happened was I think one late night, searching, I came across a condition known as mast cell activation syndrome. And this is sort of the long story where it takes me to really my life's work now, I think, is in this realm of this condition known as mast cell activation syndrome, or MCAS. That fortuitous night when I discovered that disease, was probably around 2014-ish, it's probably around 2014, 2015. And that led me down a path of connecting with one of the leaders in mast cell activation syndrome, Dr. Lawrence Afrin, who actually wound up joining me in my practice in 2017. And together we're researching, we're publishing, we're trying to get the word out about and trying to help more and more patients who suffer from this condition that is actually not that uncommon, yet the medical establishment really hasn't come around yet to really fully embracing it and understanding these patients and how to treat them. So that's sort of my journey to where I am now. I have a practice in Westchester County, New York. It's a little bit north of New York City. It's called Ames Center for Personalized Medicine. And here I have Dr. Lawrence Afrin. I have another practitioner with us, and we work on helping patients get to the root cause of their issues. And we look at all the things, and very often mast cell activation syndrome is a big part of it. And so that's been like the quick version of my journey to where I am now. I'm really feeling, I feel committed. I've been committed, very passionate about helping patients that just don't get the answers that they need. And it's not that medicine doesn't have the answers. The answers are there. Just the doctors and the practitioners have not dug deep enough to get to them, right? All the answers are there. We need more research. We always need more, but it's trying to help those patients discover these things that we know are there, and to help them understand their body, and to help them find a path to healing. And I just know that there are answers there for patients, and that's why I'm committed to. There can't be something that we don't know yet. We have to figure it out. That's kind of how I look at it.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do if a patient comes to you who's been to multiple doctors and they've been told there's nothing wrong with you, it's all in your mind? How do you address this patient's concerns who's upset knowing that there is something wrong and having been told there is nothing wrong?
Yeah, actually, that just drives me crazy. I really hate that patients are treated in that way and not validated. Sure, things that happen to you could cause stress and anxiety and depression, and I'm not minimizing that those things are real and can happen, but they're very rarely the cause of the illness, and the illness may be driving some of that, but the fact that doctors can't see that and can't understand that it really hurts. What I tell patients is that the answers are there. We just have to start to chip away at it and do the testing. Sometimes we do testing. We don't have all the answers, but through trial and error and process of elimination, we will figure it out. There has to be an answer. And I'm committed and relentless at trying to figure it out with patients. I think they deserve that.
Mhm. So what is your protocol once you have done the testing and you've found what you would think are the initial root causes? Because I mean, you have to start somewhere, you can't just go straight in. What therapies do you use?
So I really do, I use a combination of things at my disposal. I obviously have been trained in conventional medicine. There's a lot of good that has come out of modern medicine. So if there are medications that patients need, I absolutely, will use them. I think that in this world, there seems to be a real like a chasm between, people who do more holistic or integrative medicine and people who do conventional. And I really sit in that middle gray zone because you really need both. I'm a firm believer of that. We've got to find the right thing for the patient. So sometimes it's, if I feel like mast cell activation syndrome is a big part of the issue, we're going to start to work on that. And that could be through medication. It could be that they need more, maybe they need supplements, maybe they have various nutritional deficiencies or other things. So I'm going to start to work on that. I kind of think of it as I'm going to set the foundation for them. I really need to figure out what is going to stabilize them the most, and then I'm going to build on that. And so that foundation is different for everybody. Some people need more work on the foundation, and some people, the foundation is not bad. It's just that everything else after that has sort of gone awry. So again, I'm using lots of different modalities. I have the option to use more alternative treatments. I hate to say that, but we'll call it alternative. I have, IV therapy, ozone therapy, nutritional supplements, but I also have the ability to use the pharmaceuticals when they're needed. And sometimes, and very often they are needed. And most patients need a combination of both. So I'm stabilizing them, and then I keep digging deeper to see what may be driving their immune dysfunction, what's driving their body to react in a certain way or do the things that it's doing. And so, yeah, it's a process. So I have lots of tools, which I think is good.
And what age range do you cover?
So typically, I see patients, well, you could be 100 or over and I'll see you, right? So the end range is indefinite. I don't see like the little ones, but, I will start seeing patients usually in that adolescent age or, early teenager, 10, 11, 12, up until, infinity, I guess, however old.
Have you found more and more children are getting these conditions?
Yeah. More and more. And that really saddens me. I think there are, but I'm an optimist and I'm going to keep working at trying to find the reason, and also just to continue to help advocate for these kids and to help their families and them. I think that unfortunately we live in a fairly toxic world, and I hate to sound like a Debbie Downer. We do breathe in, we eat, we are exposed to things that hundreds of years ago humans were not exposed to. And so our immune system is being exposed to lots of things that it didn't have to deal with many years ago. So you can imagine that will take its toll on the immune system, on the cells of the body, and then just create stressors again that are beyond what our bodies are used to. And so, yeah, I think that what we're seeing is that younger and younger people are afflicted. We certainly see a familial kind of predisposition, so it's not uncommon to see these things in families. But it seems, and I this may be premature. We certainly don't have research, but it seems like the younger generation may be more afflicted. than some of the older generations. So I have families where I'm seeing 3 generations: the grandmother, the mother, the child. And, I would say that, believe it or not, the grandmother actually may be healthier in some ways and less dealing with less reactivity or issues with their immune system compared to the mother of the child, who may have a little bit more and is still maybe not of perfect health, but, kind of knows how to deal with it. And then the child is the one that suffers the most. And we're starting to see that trend, which, really means that we've got to get our act together in this world and try to figure out how to make it a safer environment. That's a whole other topic.
Do you do genetic testing?
I do. I wouldn't consider myself a geneticist, and if it's a complex issue, I will refer to geneticists, but there are some genetic tests that can be very helpful in understanding some of the things that we're seeing. I think validating some of the things also can be very, very helpful. If a patient knows that they have a particular gene that causes, let's say, maybe their connective tissue to be more less stable, let's say. They maybe have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, hypermobility syndromes. If we find a gene, it's not always easy to do, but if we find a gene, maybe that, again, validates, what they've known their whole life. There's no genetic test for this condition, MCAS, that I talked about, but there are other genes or other genetic issues that may drive that condition. So sometimes looking for that, we look at things like autoinflammatory syndromes, which have treatments. Actually, one of the nice things about genetic testing, in some level, is that we are starting to have some answers for what to do about it. I used to think, well, why do a genetic test if you don't have a solution? And now we're starting to get to the point where there may be, in some instances, a solution, and that's why you start to test.
The good thing about science is you're learning something new all the time.
Every day.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So do you only see people in your office, or do you see people virtually?
So right now, we are requiring patients to have a visit in person, at least for their initial visit. I think it's really important. I think that I know there are a lot of practitioners who are trying to, take care of patients remotely, and there's certainly a need for that. But there is something that gets missed when you don't have the opportunity to actually hands-on examine the patient. It's the lost art of medicine. No one learns anymore how to do a physical exam. I find things on exam all the time, thyroid cancers, other things that because no one has put their hands on that patient and it's missed. So I feel very strongly about being able to see the patient and do that, because I would never want to miss something, because my role, again, is just to figure all the pieces out. So they do have to come in but then after that, a lot can be done remotely.
And how do people get hold of you? What's your website?
So I have a couple of websites. My personal website that talks about me and my work and links to the practice website is it's drtaniadempsey.com, and my practice website is AIM Center PM, P as in Peter, M as in Mary. So it's aimcenterpm.com. And it's, again, the practice is AIM Center for Personalized Medicine. But if they Google my name, Dr. Tania Dempsey, lots of things come up. And I blog a lot. I have a presence on Instagram and Facebook, and I try to get as much education as I can out there, because I know I can't see everybody. So to give patients the tools and the resources for them to help themselves or to bring to other practitioners, right? That's really important to me.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a waiting list?
I do, unfortunately. The good news is that I have colleagues in the office who are able to see a lot of the patients now. So Dr. Lawrence Afrin, he does not have a waiting list and is seeing patients for MCAS I have Dr. Colin Renard, who's a PA with a really, really great background and obviously has been trained by me. And so he has availability to see these patients, and we collaborate all the time, and we have meetings all the time about patients. So the patients do benefit, from coming here, even if they can't, personally see me. 2023 is closed for now, but I hope in 2024 to open up my panel again.
Mm-hmm. And where are you based?
So I'm in New York. I'm in the suburbs of New York City, about 30 miles north of the city. The town is called Purchase, New York, and it's in Westchester County is what it's called.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much for having spoken to us today.
Thank you for having me.
Any questions or comments you may have, please email me, Linda, Linda, at ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciated your company. Until next time, stay safe and keep well.